To my reading corner. I am Jackie, and I'm here to. First off, I'm going to do a review on the book I just finished. I finally read Renegades, and I already bought Arch Enemies. Although I think that's the book where I think that was one of the sequels that I recently heard ends on a cliffhanger, as is Lord of the Shadows. But I haven't even read Lady Midnight yet. I wonder. I'm trying not to read a YA book and then read another YA book right after it. So I'm still waiting to read Lady Midnight. That's why the next book I'm so close to finishing it is Sweet Bitter. So this is essentially an update of my reading, but also it's first and foremost it's going to be a review of Renegades. So this is basically if the Avengers and the X-Men were running the government. If the people finally trusted them to run the government and make the laws and stuff, and that the people basically relied on the superheroes to save the day. And in this case, the superheroes are called the Renegades. And one of our protagonists, Naomi, is an anarchist in the present day, but when she was a little girl, it was her parents, and her baby sister, and her dad, I think, if I remember correctly, got mixed up with one of the anarchist gangs. Those are the supervillains, the Roaches. And when he didn't fulfill his end of the deal, the Roaches came and had all of her family killed. While Nova, not Naomi. I was thinking of Defy the Stars. That's the name of the main character in Defy the Stars. Her parents, she went into hide. She hid because she was led to believe that the Renegades would always save the day and would come and save her family from getting killed. But they don't. So she has essentially lost faith in the Renegades and feels like that the people rely too much on the Renegades to always save the day, and they have become lazy and complacent. And plus, essentially no longer believes that they are the heroes that they make themselves out to be. So years later, at that time she was rescued by her uncle, Ace, who's the leader of the anarchists. He raises her and trains her and trains her with, helps her adapt to her powers, which are, she can, by a simple touch, she can make you fall asleep. And so years later, and Ace is gone because of the whole Battle of Gatlin, I don't know how to say it, between the anarchists and the Renegades. So Ace is dead. And on a mission where Nova was supposed to be the one to kill Captain Cranium, aka Hugh Everhart, who was the leader of the Renegades. She was supposed to shoot him with a poison dart and kill him. But she failed on her mission. And she is suggested to by her sort of other Uncle Leroy, who is also known as Cyanide. He makes poisons and stuff like that, to go because they only know her as Nightmare. They've never seen her as a Nova. So he suggests she go undercover and spy and infiltrate the Renegades. Unfortunately, when she goes undercover, she becomes really close with the adopted son, Adrian, also known as Sketch, who has the power he can create things by drawing them and bringing them to life. She becomes really close with him and his team, and starts to realize that it's not such a simple situation. The Renegades are they're not really, they're not bad people. They're just trying to do the right thing. And not all of them are self-righteous, and not all of them are all they care about is the power. some of them actually have good intentions. But Nova, of course, she's still wary of the Renegades and still doesn't trust them and still is going through with her plan to spy on them and report back to the anarchist. But she starts to actually like Adrian, and Adrian starts to like her too. And that's all I'm going to tell you about the summary for this book. So, this was just another really fun book. And I really like the idea of a comic book being put into the format of an actual book and not just a graphic novel, which I like. I have nothing against graphic novels. I'm just never used to buying them. I mean, I do. My friend Terry from Florida, she's kind of got me interested in them. Like, she gave me ElfQuest, which, by the way, is a fun fantasy series. It's a little different interpretation of the elves, and it kind of has a little bit of mixture of, sci-fi a little bit in it. Like, it's not just the slender, beautiful elves that are badass, like Lord of the Rings elves, but they're not those cute little ones who make cookies and make toys. They're still cute, but they're a mixture of cute and badass at the same time. It's a really fun graphic novel. And then I have like the Sirens graphic novels and the female characters of the Batman universe. And then my friend recently I had her buy me another one with that includes 3 of my favorite villains in the Batman universe. So I have a few graphic novels. But I want to read more books that have stories that you could see in a graphic novel. And this one, of course, I mean, obviously, because it's about superheroes and supervillains, and half the graphic novels in the world are about that. Like, you have the whole Marvel DC universe, and most people that are familiar with graphic novels think of that, DC and Marvel. And I can really see this, and more so in a Marvel than a DC comic, I think. With just the humor, and it still has an edginess to it, but it also has a lightheartedness that I do believe the Marvel graphic novels have. While I think DC is more edgier and darker in its tone. But although Marvel does get pretty dark in my opinion. Which, by the way, I hate it how it's always Marvel versus DC. I like both. And I don't lean towards one over the other. They're different. I feel like you can't really be like, oh, I prefer this over this. I mean, the villains are a little more complex. At least from what I've seen. Well, more so in the Batman universe, because I've seen Superman. I'm familiar with Superman, and now I'm been exposed to Wonder Woman a little bit. But that's also the movie version, the cinematic version of it. Anyway, let me get back. Sorry, I'm going off on a little bit of tangent. But it's a very cool concept, the idea of, like, what if superheroes were running the government? What would happen? I mean, do they have a right to control us, and would it make us lazy if we just relied on the superheroes to save us and protect us all the time? Would that be a good idea? And that this book looks at that. It, like, makes is it right for us to rely on superheroes to always save the day? And it also, but it also looks at not just the super, but we see the villain side as well. We see both perspectives. And you can kind of understand why the anarchists feel the way they feel. Because they have been given the label of bad guys. And yes, their powers are dangerous, and some of them go a little crazy. Like, there's one character in the anarchists who does feel like a villain. And maybe, I don't know, we don't really know her backstory. But, there is a possibility that she was kind of drove to that. Not that that's an excuse. But with those kind of characters, there's always, something to happen in their past that made them really angry. Just like with Nova, what happened to her as a kid, and why she doesn't believe in the Renegades. But you can also understand Adrian's naivety, his belief in the Renegade, his ideals and everything, and why he. But of course, I think it's easy to believe in people like the Renegades. Although towards the end, there was a hint that I mean, I don't know yet, but it seems like there's a hint of the Renegades are getting into that self-righteous territory where they seem like they're the good guys, but their methods are a little extreme. Like, that's what the impression I got towards at the very end of the book. Like, with what they were gonna, what they hinted at what was gonna happen next. And as someone said, and as another reviewer that I watched or read, actually, no, I think it was one that I watched on BookTube said, some of these powers are a little like, some of them are really cool, but others are really like, what's the point of them? Of course, I think in this kind of situation, you get what you get. You can't, it's not like you can go up to a higher power and be like, can I have this kind of power? I didn't really like the Sentinel. I think that's how you say it. I didn't like his character. Or, the Sentinel as the Sentinel. We do meet his alias. And he's cool. I'm cool with his alias. It's just the superhero. Because I think it's a little too much. When you read that part, and I think that's the point. I think that's the point of the Sentinel. They're trying to show that this character is trying so hard to be a hero and save the day that it's coming on a little too strong, and he's a bit of a and it's causing harm to the people that he intended to protect. Like, he's almost has too much power. But he has good intentions on how to use it. But I guess I can't really fairly say I don't like the character. And because I think there's a point to the character. But if the story was all about that superhero, then I wouldn't be. I mean, like I said, I know this sounds weird. I mean, once you read it, you'll understand. Like, it's not like, it's for the reader. It's not a mystery who it is. They tell you right out who the Sentinel is. But it's a mystery for the other characters who the Sentinel is. That's part of the mystery of the plot. Is that they have this mysterious Sentinel and they don't know if they can trust him. They don't know whose side he's on. If he's a weapon for the Renegades, or maybe he's an anarchist, or maybe he's from neither. He's a threat to both sides. But it's weird for me to say I don't like his character because I like the alias, his other character, his other persona, who he is behind closed doors, but I don't like his superhero identity as much. Like I said, once you read, you'll get what I mean by this. I'm trying not to spoil it in front of me because I know I'm really bad at that. And sometimes I'm also bad at reviews, period. So, which is why I'm basically giving reviews mostly. So, instead of just doing an overall wrap up, like I'm just reviewing in each individual book because it's good practice. It's a very, like I said, Marissa Meyer's writing, I mean, I like her stories, but her writing style is nothing special. It's, typical YA writing. I mean, of course, she's definitely better than others, and she's good with descriptions and everything. But, I mean, it's not, and I really like her stories. That's why it's not for, of course, with most authors, there's never been an author that I just read for the writing. I read it for the story. Now, of course, that's debatable with classics because sometimes it's not about it's about the writing and how influential the writing style is, or classics. You have a very complicated relationship with classics. But anyway, like I said, there's something special about the writing. It's really fun. It's a very fast-paced book, even though it's a chunker. It's very fast-paced. It doesn't. You get through it quickly. I don't say, and maybe I should do this, particularly with classics and bigger books, that the whole reading 100 pages or 200 pages or whatever, and then I'll stop. But with YA books, I just go, but I don't. I normally don't. I just read like 4 chapters. But I think I should do that with classics because sometimes the chapters are really, really long. like, or those are not even just classics, but some of the bigger books I'm reading, that they're like some of the chapters can be really long, and part of the problem is, even though I'm enjoying the book, sometimes I go and check. Even with a book like this, I will still check and see how many pages to the end, because like there'll be situations like, I'm so bad at time management and trying to make sure I get what I want to do before I have to go to work. And then sometimes, we're traveling, like running errands, or we're going to visit family and it's a long car trip. And I want to read. I'm one of those people who reads multiple books at the same time. I'm just bad at being like at time management. But anyway, so I will read, like, I've read 4 chapters every time I read this book. I mean, sometimes I've had to stop, or I've decided to stop because, like, I can't keep my eyes open while sitting in the chair, or I'm, like, going through my second go-around of Buffy, because I have the DVDs now. So it's like, I don't want to, and I try to stick to a schedule of when I at least get into bed. So it's all about time management that I'm really bad at that. But anyway, either way, it's a very fast-paced book. I can get through 4 chapters, and it's such a fun book, and I'm so glad I was able to get the hardback, because I do like the hardback. I mean, I definitely agree that it is easier to read paperbacks, but I can understand the appeal of hardback, and I guess in a way, I'm having watched enough BookTube, I have become a little more, like, I see the physical appeal of a hardback book. And even though I say I don't care, I do find myself trying to make sure I get books that are, like I saw, after, some time of watching Elliot Brooks's channel, she kind of got me interested in the, Witcher series. I will probably never play the video games, but she got me interested in the books. And so, the whole series, the books are at My Books A Million, but some of them are mass market paperback size, and some of them are regular size. So it's like, I wanted to get the next book, but then I was thinking about getting the 3rd book, but it was in mass market paperback edition, so I was debating, should I go ahead and get this now? But then I had all these other books, including this one. So, but anyway, this one was fun. And let me end this review so I can update you guys on my reading without this video being too long. But yeah, it's this one. Like I said, I would like to one day do a video where once I start reading more books like this, I would love to do a video where I recommend these kind of books like this that are kind of like comic book storylines found in actual novels. And I thought it was a graphic novel, but I saw The Killing Joke, which if you're a Batman fan, you know what The Killing Joke is. I saw that one in book format. At first I thought it was just a nice fancy graphic novel, but then I realized, but I was talking to my friend Terry from Florida, I was talking about it, and she said it looked like an actual novel. So when I was there yesterday, I think it was yesterday, or it might have been, no, it was the day before when I went, because yesterday I had to go to work. And I looked, and I was like, damn it. Of course it is because I'm one of those stubborn people who is like, when I'm adamant about something, I'm assuming that I'm right about something, and then I find out I'm wrong, I end up feeling really awkward afterwards, and I don't want to admit that I was wrong. I'm like, yeah, you are right, it's not a graphic novel. I know I'm very immature and childish. But anyway, but I want to do a video where I talk about these. But I mean, who knows? Maybe one day I'll be able to do one of those recommend videos. I keep meaning to do that with Kate Morden, recommending how to read her books, or which ones are the best ones, or something like that. But I still not reread. I've only reread one of her books. I haven't reread the other ones yet. I did start rereading one of them though. I can't remember which one. Oh, The Distant Hours. I did start rereading that one, but then I tend to jump around with books. So let me get to. I think I gave that 5 stars on Goodreads, by the way. So like I said, I am so close to finishing this up, but each of these chapters are like really are a bit lengthy. And like I said, and the ones that are kind of set in a modern contemporary setting, sometimes those tend to lose sometimes they don't keep my interest 100%. Like this has my interest 90%. But not that's a bad book. It's just it's not like super exciting, It's a fascinating, interesting story, but it's not always I'm talking about Sweet Bitter. But it's one of those more literary reads. Like a slice of life kind of story. I hope I'm right with that because I've heard that phrase a few times recently. I mean, I guess because it's about this woman getting a job in a restaurant in New York for the first time and learning the challenges of working at a very fancy, upper class restaurant, or not necessarily upper class, but just really nice and really fancy restaurant. Like, I'm trying to, like around, I can't even think of it. Well, I don't want to waste time, but I was trying to think of a name of a restaurant that I could compare it to, but then I guess you guys might not everybody that watches me is familiar with the areas I'm familiar with, or restaurants I'm familiar with. But it's really good. It's very honest about the restaurant biz and stuff. It's very blunt. It's not everybody, as some of the reviewers said that, because I figure, I'm so close to the end, so I figure it'll be okay to watch reviewers that talk about this book. And one of the reviewers had worked in the restaurant biz, and her experience, this is pretty close to her experience. She said it covers it really well and really accurately. And she said that, yeah, I mean, like, it is very, like, the vulgarity of the way people interact with each other, and then the drugs and all that these people need to take just to stay on top of things and stay focused, because it's so fast-paced at a restaurant. I mean, it really looks at the behind the scenes of working at a restaurant, and how difficult it is, and how you just have to put on a happy face, and, and not, it just, like, customers always, right, in any form of customer service, the customer, and I'm actually now, I've started being part of customer service because I work at a grocery store, so, and even, it's not as bad as this, and I definitely do not want to work at a restaurant. This book definitely makes me, like, against the idea of working at a restaurant, because I don't think I can handle it, but, like, I do have I understand, the customer service side of things, and how sometimes people can be, you have to just smile and put up with people, although mostly where I work, the people are very nice and very friendly, and it's a very warm environment, a very hospitable environment. Everyone is really nice and very friendly, and it's that good old Southern hospitality, and it really is. I'm serious. I'm not just being, like, snarky or sarcastic. I mean, really, I feel like it is true what they say, that the Southern hospitality expression, I think, is really true. And although, I gotta admit, like, the characters can really, the way they treat our protagonist, Tessa, and sometimes they just drive me crazy and piss me off, just the way they treat her, because they are so brutally honest with her. And just so crude and tough, and they give her a lot of tough love. And I feel like I don't know, like, I feel like I can relate to her, but I don't know if the way she is acting, like, how she's adapted, I don't know if I would adapt better than her, or I wouldn't be able to adapt at all. Or, I mean, I like to say that I would adapt, or even better than her. But I don't know. I don't know if I would be tough enough to handle. And I would probably, like, quit. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely feel like I can connect with her in a way, which doesn't happen often. I don't read a lot of, because I read mostly fantasy, and there's only so much you can connect to a fantasy character, because not all of us live in a fantasy world. But although I think some of their their insecurities, their fears, their traits you can kind of relate to, but this is more of a realistic situation. But that doesn't, now of course I'm not one of those people who read books just because, because I love fantasy. So I'm not one of those people who's obsessed with, feels like I have to relate to the main character 100% for me to enjoy a book. But yeah, so far I am so close to, if you can tell, I am so close to being done with this. I mean, look, I only have that much left. But it's taken a long time. So after I film this video, of course, by the time you guys see this video, I'll be done with it. But, because right after I'm done filming this, I'm going to go ahead and get started reading this book. And I want to finish this. And I've already done my run, so I did my run before I decided, before my mom and I left for our appointment. So I'm also, I did finish up another story in this one, The Bane Chronicles. I'm determined to finish this, but I might, as much as I want to get back into Cassandra Clare's books, into her Shadowhunter world, I think I'm still going to go ahead and donate this book when I'm done with it. Although not that it's already been off my shelf, so it's not like it makes a dent in my shelf space. Like, I keep looking, and I can't decide if any of these books I want to get rid of them. There's any of them I don't feel any attachment to. Of course, most of the books over here are ones that I haven't read yet. But, I read another one of the stories in this one. But in case you don't know, as the title implies, this is about some of Magnus Bane's adventures. So I'm on the story The Last Stand at the New York Institute. So I'm guessing it's the wars between, with Valentine. But I just finished, let's see, which story did I finish? What's by the Shadowhunter who has everything, and who you're not officially dating. So basically Magnus is agonizing what to get Alec, who he's just started dating. It's really cute, actually, and he keeps asking his friends for advice, but of course his friends don't care, and they also don't like the idea of him dating a Shadowhunter. So they're very, mean about it, and, I don't give a rat's ass, I don't think you should be dating this guy anyway, so I'm not gonna help you. And then he even has a slime demon helping, he asks him for, or at least I don't know if he actually asks him for advice, or the demon offers advice, but it's kind of funny. I don't love all these stories in this, but some of them feel a little incomplete, and that's my issue with short stories, so far in my experience. They feel incomplete. There needs to be more. I guess I'm so used to reading novels. And now with Kelly Link's works, which is funny because she's in her other, I just remembered the name of it. Her most recent collection, that's Tales from the Shadowhunter Market, I think, or Ghost from the Shadowhunter Market, or something like that. I just found out from watching, I can't remember her name. She's not a booktuber I watch on a regular basis anymore, because I don't have the same taste as she does, but she's a huge fan of the Shadowhunter world, and there are 3 Cassie Clare books that are coming out that she's anticipating, and one of them was either Ghost of the Shadowhunter Market, or Tales from the Shadowhunter Market, I don't remember, but that's finally coming out in a big bind-up, so I want to get that one. So I still want to read that one, and I was going to say that Kelly Link is one of those people who, she writes a short story in that collection. And when I read her collection, one of hers, Get in Trouble, I just had a hard time getting into it. Some of the stories were kind of interesting, but it's just with short story collections, I don't know if I I feel like I've not had the best luck with them. They felt incomplete. They were missing something. But these are kind of fun. It was nice to see Magnus Bane. story. And it might also have to do with I'm getting older and I'll be 30 this year, so maybe in a way I'm starting to think the way Terry is thinking about how, I can't read young adult books because I can't relate to the characters. Although I still believe that with fantasy, if you can get past the age difference, past them being younger than you, and because they're in very adult situations, not necessarily relationship, of course there's plenty of relationship drama, but saving the world, or having to deal with having some kind of power that you are struggling to control. That's why I still read YA fantasy. But anyway, so I finished one of those. Okay, so let's see. So Bittersweet, I'm gonna finish this hopefully tonight. So I'm trying to go, as I said in my tentative TBR video about that for February, I'm trying to go anti-love in not reading books that have to do with, like, people would assume because Valentine's Day is in the second or third week of this month. So I'm trying to avoid reading, like, super romantic stories. Although I'm sure some of the fantasy books I'm reading have elements of fantasy in them. But it's like the assumption that you're gonna read love stories or things with a lot of romance in it in February. Or there's the other, because it's also Black History Month, so people might read about, but, so I'm trying not to, so I'm currently reading, this is a very anti-February book, and that is Orcs by Stan Nichols. So this is basically, this is one that, like I said in my previous videos, this is kind of one of these things where I just saw and was like, oh my god, I have to buy this book. This is so interesting. Because it's about the story of the orcs. These characters are normally the lackeys for the bad guys, and it's their story. And it's definitely not kid-friendly. Like I said, I think if you watch my previous videos where I mentioned this book, in the, second chapter, the queen of the orcs, who's half human, I think she's half human, she drugs a human male and rapes him. So like I said, of course you might have already hear me talk about that, but yeah, so this is not kid friendly. But it's very dark, but it's also very interesting. And of course, I'm so used to human characters or humanoid-looking characters that even when I'm reading this, I'm still picturing them as human, even though they're orcs. I can't picture them as, I try to, because I feel like I should, because it's about orcs. They're not humans. They're not supposed to be humans. But, so far it's not much different than most of the fantasy. It's just with orcs. But I think that's what makes it stand out, is it's because it's about, again, I know I keep reading, I gotta stop. I had a nickel every time I said the word orc. But it's about these guys, and so yes, it has the basic elements of fantasy, but from a different perspective, which I think makes the story unique. And I have the other two other books. This one is a bind-up, but they're not short stories, they're novels. Are novellas, I should say. And this what made me, and I think I mentioned this before in my other video where I did my tentative TBR video, that what inspired me to get back into reading this was because, I want to say her name is Holly Reads or something. She was saying how she recently hauled a book about dwarves. So again, a story about characters in fantasy that they're not the main, they're usually sidekicks. They're not like the main character. They're the guys who help the good guys, and these are the ones that help the bad guys. So it's interesting to see from characters, mythical creatures and beings that they're not center stage in these fantasy books. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that book as well. because it sounded interesting. But anyway, basically what's happened so far is this army of orcs led by this guy Strike. They were sent by the Queen Genesta to retrieve this special cylinder, and it's supposed to help her in some way. We don't know. I don't remember if she says in the beginning, the first couple chapters, why she wants it, like why specifically. But it's important, and from another enemy, the cylinder was stolen, so they have to get it back. And of course, there's dissension in the ranks. People that are giving Strike a lot of trouble. So right now, they are on the way to get this cylinder back for the Queen. And Janesta is not pleased with these guys that they're not back yet. So she sent a mercenary to go. I think he would be considered a mercenary to go and steal and find out what's up. Even if he has to have these guys killed in the process, because she just wants her damn cylinder, whatever it is. And there is an elf in the story, although I'm sure, but unfortunately, I think that elf is gonna die. I think he's gonna get the life drained out of him or something. But anyway, it's very gritty, very dark so far, but it's really interesting, really cool too. I finally got to book 2 of The Stand. Finally, where basically our characters, it's seeing that they're still continuing to travel and find a safe haven for them to go, because most of the population is dead from this flu. And 2 of the characters have met the two people mentioned, Randall Flagg and Mother Abigail. One of them, Randall, basically got not Stuart Redman. Lloyd Henreid. He helped him get out of jail. Although he didn't really need to break him out. He just needs to open the doors for him. And Lloyd is gonna be Randall Flagg's second in command, so to speak. And you have Nick, who has had a dream about Mother Abigail, who summoned him to her. And he has to and you have I always forget her name. Franny and her friend Harold are traveling. They've decided to partner up. She kind of felt bad for the guy, and she was alone and pregnant, so they've teamed up. And Harold kind of has a bit of a crush on her, but he knows that Franny doesn't really like him. They're traveling, and they run into this other guy, Stuart Redman, and I don't remember what his deal was, but they run into him, and Harold at first does not like this guy. He's a little bit territorial of Franny. And so but eventually the 3 of them are teaming up, and they are traveling to, I think Vermont, which is also where Mother Abigail is, and that's where Nick is headed, to Mother Abigail, because of his dream vision. So the pieces are being put in place for these characters. I'm curious if there's going to be other significant characters in the store, or this is going to be our core group. But like I said, I'm finally on book 2. Now, I don't know if this is gonna, when it gets into book 2, I don't know if it's gonna be if it's gonna jump ahead in time, or we're just gonna continue with where we are. But anyway, it's really interesting. It's definitely really interesting, and like I said, I'm looking forward to. That's the part I was looking forward to. I was not as interested in the whole how all these people died of the flu or anything like that, like the flu breaking out or anything. That I'm more interested in the battle between Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg, and who's going to be on whose side in this. That's what I was interested in, so I was waiting to get to that part. unfortunately, this is Stephen King, as the thing that I love is also the thing that I hate. Well, not hate, but it drives me crazy that he has so much detail in his stories. And I love it, but like I said, it drives me crazy. So, but I finally got to book 2. Yay! But I don't know if I'm gonna end up. I'm almost want to bring, when we go on our cruise in June, I almost want to bring where's the other one? I don't know where it is. I almost want to bring his other book, Needful Things. I almost want to bring that one with me when I go on the cruise, but who knows what's going to happen by June. But anyway, so I'm reading that one. And then I didn't read a classic in June, so I did start this one. And that is Crime and Punishment. I'm not going to even bother to say his last name. Let me show it if you guys can see it. Dostoevsky. And again, it's still, I'm having a hard time basically summing up without looking at the back. But from what I remember, this guy has devised a perfect crime, and it's a commentary on the legal system back then. And it's our main character whose name I can't. I know I was supposed to look up these names, I forgot, but how to pronounce these Russian names. But anyway, we meet this guy. I think he's not paying his rent. Like I said, he runs into this guy at the bar who tells him about his life, and I think I want to say that the prostitute or hooker or whatever he just ran into is going to be that guy's daughter that he met at the bar that told him about his life. But he had recently received a letter from his mother about his sister, how she got in trouble with this guy, and she lost her job because of it, because this guy was interested in his sister. But of course, women didn't have a lot of power back then, and the wife just assumed it was her. It was her fault. She was the one messing with him. So she gets fired, and the wife, who has a lot of influence in their little town, makes her look bad. But then things end up turning around for her. So now the sister's engaged to this other well-to-do guy, but I don't think our main protagonist guy, her brother, doesn't. I don't think he's certain he's gonna like this guy. I feel bad that I don't know how to. I really need to look it up. But yeah, so that's basically, like I said, and all I got from so far. But that's sometimes classics, it's just hard to sum them up. But I've only gone to chapter 6. I've gone to chapter 6. It's not that hard to read. I mean, it's just, you gotta get me in the right mood to read it. To get beyond, and to absorb what I'm reading. The last book I'm going to get to, I still have not gone back into Malice, but the other big book, the other big epic fantasy is Theft of Swords, Volume 1 of the Rhaeria Revelations. You have these two guys, Hadrian and Royce. I think that's supposed to be Hadrian, that's Royce. They are mercenaries, and they are sent on a mission to retrieve a stolen sword. But what ends up happening is it turns out that they were being framed for the murder of the king. And then the sister approaches them and has them kidnap her brother and take him to this prisoner who has a message for them or something. So it's really fun and interesting. I like the character. Like I said last time, I really loved Royce and Hadrian. And finally, I'm reading a fantasy book where it's old enough. The main characters are old enough to me. The age difference, they're older than me, so I can actually have a crush on these characters. And I think I said that in my last video, where I'm in my book haul or whatever, or my TBR for February, that because I read a lot of YA, most of the characters, the male characters, are like younger than me. like I said, I'm 29, I'll be 30 this year, so they're all teenagers in those stories, in the presence of those in the present time of those stories. So it's inappropriate. So I think that's, I don't, I might still root for the couples, but I never have massive crushes on the male characters. Because that would be robbing the cradle for me. Of course, I guess it doesn't matter because it's fiction, but yeah, I can act, this is actually age appropriate. I can crush on these characters. But yeah, but it seems like something big is going down. Something, like some kind of, I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling that the character that they were supposed to talk to in the prison, he's gonna come back again, because they're gonna run into him again. Because spoiler alert, they do break him out of prison. And like I said, I think he's definitely going to pop up again at some point. I don't know if in this book or in the next book, but I do have all 3 books now, all 3 volumes. I ended up buying them in myself, and I do have to go on Amazon and take that one, the 3rd volume, off my list because I bought it myself this last month. So it's so fun. I definitely recommend this series. It's not a literary masterpiece. I'm sure there's criticisms to receive, but I'm enjoying it. It's so fun, and it's a fun series. And so is that other big book series that I started, Malice. I need to get back into reading that one too. Now, the only problem with these books is this one's a little faster moving. The Malice is a little slower, but still very fun, and I definitely need to go back into reading Malice soon so I can read. Unfortunately, that was one of the books I asked for the next book in that series for Christmas this year, but that's one of the ones I didn't get. So I'll have to I'll ask for it again on my birthday, or I'll buy it myself. But anyway, so fun. So I'm reading this one. I read a little bit of this one today when we went out for the appointment. But everything is like 5 minutes away in this town, so I didn't have a lot of time to read. Plus, my mom had the radio on, so kind of was a bit of a distraction. So that's my review of Renegades and what I'm currently reading. Would love to hear what you guys are currently reading. So if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already, and click the little bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. And as always, I hope you all are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!